And he said to pray in secret. Don't just show off all your big these and thous. Just pray simply. Don't try to preach while you're praying. And also to fast in secret, so that people won't be obvious to people that you're hungry and famished. Why do you think he said this? Because you want people to care more about what God thinks of them than what the world thinks of them. Because what the world sees may not necessarily be the truth. And so, but God knows everything anyway, so you might as well tell him what you're thinking. So in what areas of your life are you tempted to seek the approval of people rather than of God? Definitely almsgiving. So look at me, I work at the pregnancy center and counsel unwed mothers. Look at me, I'm volunteering in the public school. I hope I actually get a paying job out of that. And I still do, that's why I'm still doing it. So I do seek the approval of men in almsgiving. And sometimes in giving the gospel, I don't want to give it because people are going to think me judgmental. And so, but I've got to tell the truth the way it's said in the Bible, or I will not be telling the truth. So there. And so what did Jesus mean when he said, but when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing? Well, he said to be secret about it. Don't just give to the needy just to show what a good Democrat you are, or just show how good Angelina Jolie is by announcing that she's adopting yet another kid. I mean, do stuff just because you want to do it, just not because you want people's attention. Do it because God told you to do it. And how can this passage help purify our motives? It can't, but God can. And this is the Word of God, so of course it can. Only God can purify our motives, because without Him, there's no such thing as altruism. Everybody should know that. So how does this fit in with the next passage? It says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And what does that have to do with doing things in secret? Well, the Pharisees obviously weren't doing things just to impress God. They were trying to impress people. They were storing up their treasures on earth. They were storing up their fan base on earth when God didn't even care about them anymore, because they just didn't care about anybody else. They thought they didn't need anybody else. They thought they didn't need God. They thought they were God. And so we have to care about what God thinks about us. We got to store up our treasures in heaven, because we're going to die someday. Everybody's going to die, and it could be this minute. Do you know that you're going to be with the Lord when you go into heaven, or you're going to receive His just judgment? Because we're all going to be judged one day, but because of Christ, the Christians will be saved from His wrath. Are you going to meet His wrath or His happiness, saying, well done, good and faithful servant? And so you've got to store up your hope in heaven. You've got to store all your life, your money. It has to go to heaven, because hopefully that's where you will be someday. If you don't store up your future, your IRA in heaven, you'll just be stuck on this earth, and you'll be in hell for eternity. And so hopefully you will consider this and consider following Christ and going to a church regularly that believes in the Trinity, that believes that the Bible is the Word of God, and that believes there's only one way to heaven, and that's through accepting Jesus' sacrifice, because you can't get there by your own deeds. So, have a good week.